it's the Constant Angler. I managed to get hold of the Savage Gear Gravity Stick Kit here. Well, first to get hold of it, was quite interested in it. Looks like something I'd love to use for bass fishing. It basically is looking a bit like a Senko sort of style body with different tails on it. So we'll run through what's in it. So if we're looking at the label on here, it's you get 10 gravity stick pintails. They're 14 centimeters long and 15 grams in weight. You also get 10 gravity stick pulse tails, 14 centimeters, 15 grams in weight. So we've got a theme there where the weight is consistent and the length is consistent. And you get 10 gravity stick paddle tails, 14 centimeters, 15 grams. You get 2 of each color of each style. So there's 5 different colors, and as you can see, you get 2 of each of these. There you go, as it says. The 47 pieces, where you also get 7 glass rattles. You get 5 tungsten spikes, weights. You get 3 6/0 weedless swim bait hooks to rig them on, and you get 2 6/0 weedless swim bait weighted hooks. So what else can we see from the label? You get a nice box. They come in a nice box. So we'll turn it upside down and show you. The usual Savage Gear box with the orange clips. Pretty reliable, good sturdy boxes, fit in most of their lure system standard sized bags. What else does it say on the label here? Long cast system. Well, that'll be due to the salt in them, adding the extra weight. And the 15 grams is a good standard size weight of hard lure. It will cast you plenty of distance. They're quite streamlined, so yeah, no problem there. The hooks obviously have a black nickel finish. It says they're high gravity. That'll be due to the salt giving the weight to the lure, I presume. And they're salted, as it says. So let's open up and have a look and discuss. So let's open up the box. You just got your standard plastic clips there. Come with all Savage Gear boxes. And let's have a look. You can see I've already rigged one on a hook here. So let's get the lure to start off with. If you see a little fin here on the top, you've got a recess for your hook on the top. There's no belly slot. You can put one in yourself if you want. There appears to be a couple of holes which you can use for rigging. Probably positions of your hook as you put them through. Well, I know it is because I've already rigged one. Noticed it afterwards. Yeah, you kind of gills here on the head. Eyes. It's flatter on the top than on the bottom. You could do like we do with slayers, rig them upside down and present more of a flatter profile, which will help lift the lure in the tide if you wanted. You don't have to rig them one particular way around. We obviously do with the paddle tails, not with the post tails. They look quite uniform. Yeah, they've got they're tapered towards the front and a more bulbous back body. Here's the pintail we have here. It has a couple of ridges on the end, which is going to add to vibration. That moves around lovely. One thing I definitely suggest to you is you don't use these around wrasse because they love pintails. One of my favourite type of lures for wrasse. If we show you the one I've rigged up already on the swim bait hook, which I will show you how I did that shortly, you can see this 6/0 hook sits just behind the fin on the back, which is nice, gives it a bit of protection. It's quite easy to expose and sit the hook in the recess. This is on one of the post tails. Yeah, it's been designed for use with the lure, isn't it? So that's what these little holes are. You know, that's where I should have put the hook through. I'm trying to do this looking down through the camera lens. It's quite tricky. And pulled out. I still got it wrong. But you can readjust, can't you? You do this all the time. You have good days and bad days, if I'm honest. There we go. So how's that sitting now? Yeah, that's sitting absolutely superbly. Yeah, like this exposes the hook point beautifully. It's a nice soft plastic. It's not hard. You know, the fish is going to chomp down, expose it. That's smooth. It's nice. There's some sort of oil there, but not huge amount of oil. You can see a little bit of plastics coming off, which is normal. It'll just make the hook point move smoother. You could add I always do, you could add a little bit of Vaseline there and it'll slide up and down the hook even better. What should we be doing though? Because you do a sliding when it's retrieving, just when the fish is biting. Yeah, there's plenty of room in the hook keeper there. Yeah, particularly that post tail's gotta work, hasn't it? It's just gotta work. It's gonna drive bass mad, that I'm sure of it. I've seen the reaction from pike, and as I've already said, and they just love these things. With a pike, we're not going to fish these with pike, you probably could. They get used to them after a bit if you're fishing pressured waters, and they avoid them. But we're talking about wild bass here, you know, they may not have seen your lure at all before. They're not gonna, it's not a worry with bass, I wouldn't imagine. You know, chances of them coming across it several times, getting hooked several times, and becoming wary of these things it's not going to happen, is it? I don't know about minimal. So yeah, you got your ribbing, so you could put scents into that if you want. I'll do a video shortly of how I make my own scents. It's 140 millimeters long. I know the camera's going to pick that up. It actually says on that stamp bit there, which is your 14 centimeters. With the hook in there, it feels a good weight. These hooks, they're sort of wide gape. That's so that, you know, you expose a lot of the hook point on the bite, but it also serves another purpose. It acts as a keel, steadies the lure in the water as well. I guess in the little hole behind there is probably shows you where a 7/0 hook would sit. I've actually stuffed a rattle in there, which you'll see in a minute. Yeah, great. Gonna cast well, good weight, gonna sit well in the water. This is gonna thump away. The pintails seem delicate, but not overly delicate. The size is good. It's a bite size for a bass. The paddle tails, well, they reminded me a little of, I guess Henry's thinking sort of Gary Yamamoto Senkos. You know, they're great bass lures, aren't they? We use them. Similar, but not the same. Good soft tail. Good size paddle tail, not overly large, but, you know, enough attraction. If you want more thump, you'll go with the post tail. Good selection of colors. Got the Wakazagi sort of color, I'd call that. Nice shimmering color. There's definitely a little bit of oil or something there. I can feel it on my fingers, which is good. I like that. You could add more scent yourself. Got the AU sort of color here. This is in the post tail. Liking that. I like the laminates. Seem to work some days better than the whites. White's probably the best color. Then we're moving on to a laminate green and silver. Lots of glitter in this one. It's on the pintail. You know, I can imagine that grabbing along the bottom like this. That's the wrasse man coming out of me again. I'm not going to use these for wrasse, no way. Yeah, the flat back, the ridges can add scent. Plenty of action. I'm not hardly, you know, it's just my hand shaking there. I'm trying to hold it pretty steady, and the whole lure, the front and the tail shaking, so there's lots of action in those. And then we got the darker color. It's got the gold and the blue in a bluey blacky sort of color there. So if you want more of a silhouette on dark nights, overcast days, slightly colored water, this might be the one to go for. You got your two different types of hooks. Your weighted swim bait hook, your unweighted swim bait hook, your weights, your rattles. We'll go into more detail with those in a moment. Right, how do we rig these lures? So we've established the top has a hook slot. So there's your belly. We've got a couple of dots. I guess one is for a 6/0 hook and one is for a 7/0 hook. We have our 6/0 swim bait hooks that they've provided. With the spike in the middle of the head of the lure, push and twist at the same time until we get it on as far as we want. I like to leave about that much. So it's just a case of then have I got the orientation of the lure right. So no, it's upside down at the moment, so I turn it on once more or turn it off once more, whichever way you want to do it. So I've got the orientation of it all correct there now. I'm going to find that little hole, hopefully the camera will show you if I open it up a bit, which my hook point is going to go through. So I just grab the hook. See, I'm trying to do this on camera, so it's hard work. Push down through the center, straight down through the center of the bait. And there is your rigged lure. You can see the hook sitting in the center of the recess. You could expose it if you want, so you could pull the plastic towards the eye of the hook and drop it over the hook point, making it more weedless. If you don't do that, the fin provides some protection, and as it straightens out like that, it sits in there pretty much behind that fin. It's pretty weedless anyway. It's a case of if you're missing bites, don't expose it. If you're hooking lots of weed, expose it. But it's pretty weedless like that anyway. You can see it is catching on occasions, but not that much. I'd be quite happy to fish it unexposed, to be honest. And that seems a good guide. There is the second hole, if the camera will focus. You can see here just about a pinhole. I would guess that's for a 7/0 hook if you wanted to put a hook further back, if you're getting short strikes, maybe. Yeah, great, easy to do, isn't it? Wonderful. Where might we put our rattles? Well, you could put them around here in the belly, in between the hook point and the eye of the hook. That way strikes will probably be around that area and more likely to the fish to catch the hook point and hook themselves. You can put them in the tail. Obviously the tail has more movement. You can slot them in here. If there's any chance of any wrasse around, I wouldn't suggest you do that, because they'll hit where the rattle is and they'll bite it off. But if I'm sort of bouncing this in the tide, say, which this would be good for, I would put it somewhere around here. So it's just in case it's soft plastic and you've got a pointy rattle. You just push it in as shallow or as deep as you want and push it all the way in as far as you can. Wheel it around a bit and just make sure it's in there. That's in there. Oh yeah, that's going to get you a fish, isn't it? Maybe push a bit further in. There we go. Happy with that. Take your time, do a good job. You can hear that. There's enough sound with that. Weighting of, get your tungsten weights. Let me find another one here. What can you do with your weights? Well, you can put them in the center. That way you get a level sink, and this will probably wiggle a bit like that, the tail. You can rig them in the head. That'll make the bait stand up like that or sink like that, which sometimes fish sit like that. There might be a way of, I don't think it's going to suspend because of the weight of it, but you know, it might be a natural presentation on the day. Or as I very often like to do, is put them in the tails of the baits. Now, I'm not going to do that because I want to destroy all my baits right now. Why do we do that? Why would we want to make the tail heavier? Well, we might be swinging a bait in current. So if by tilting the bait like this, we're exposing more of the bottom of the bait to the influence of the current and tide or flow that we have, and it will actually make, although you've added more weight, it will make the lure, depending on how fast the tide is. You know, there's a tipping point there where the current's not strong enough, the weight's too much, it'll make it sink tail down. But in a faster tide, it can make the lure actually raise in the water, because the water's hitting here and pushing the lure up. And you can with using different various sizes of weights, get the lure to suspend in the water column where you want it to. So there's your option. You put it in the head, you put it in the belly, you can put it in the tail. This lure seems flatter on the top than the belly. You might want to do that upside down, so you're exposing even more of the profile, the surface area of the lure, a flatter profile to the tide, making it rise even more. That's something people don't know about. And you know, fish aren't always like this. Sometimes they're belly up and dying, and maybe that might be something that would trigger a response to a bite from wary fish or just on the day. So we've got various options with our weighted swim bait hooks. I would guess that this will, you know, I won't say it will, but I would guess that the weighted swim bait hook will give a level 4 and that extra bit of weight to cast the distance you want. But you could equally just grab one of the unweighted ones. I mean, they're 3 grams. I guess that Savage Gear sell them in different weights and sizes. But you could buy some lead wire and do as I do and wrap around as much as you want on the day for the various swim that you're fishing. So, yeah, it's a great little system. So to sum up, what do I think? Are they value for money? I think I paid £33 for those and so many pence. Bought them on eBay. For me, that's good value for money. I could go and buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packets of lures, 2 of each type, of lures of that sort of quality, and I could quite easily be spending in excess of that just for the lures. Then they're throwing you in some hooks, they're throwing you in some weights, they're throwing you in some rattles. You've got the different styles. If you wanted to buy a paddle tail, you'd have to go and buy a pack of those, wouldn't you? Well, you're not. You've got a couple. I'm sure they'll bring out the packs and you can replenish. So it's a great way, this kit, of experimenting with it. Trying the different patterns, trying different colours, finding which ones work when and how. And then if you want streamlined to the particular colours, types you like in the particular scenarios that you're fishing. And it comes in a box, so you just grab it all, chuck it in the bag, and you've got a variety of styles and ways of fishing these lures and presenting your baits all in one little package. Yeah, I'll still use other lures. I love other lures. I love Do Live sticks. There's not a Do Live stick in there. The pintail's the sort of closest. The Do Live stick is more of a fluky sort of profile, so I still use those, but I could put some of those in this box, couldn't I? And that's another option. Maybe Savage Gear will. Maybe they've got that in the pipeline, a sort of fluky type, Do Livey type jerk baity, soft jerk baity style lure. That's something I would request. American bass anglers use them a lot. They use the Zoom flukes, the large Zoom flukes, 6 inches, super flukes, I think they're called. I don't think we use enough of those in this country. I use them and catch bass on them. I use smaller versions, I catch bass on them. You can present them in the tide. They're a slightly different profile again. That is something I'd like to add to that in these colours. I'd like a black lure. This is dark. This will do the same thing, but I'd have picked the black lure instead of that lure. But saying that, will a bit of moonlight pick up that flash? Will, in a slightly turbid water, will this be the one? And this glitter will pick out a bit of light and flash, and maybe that'll make a difference. So I'm really interested in that side of things as well. I'd have had a solid black lure. I'd have had some sort of fluke. With these are things going forward that we can suggest. As more and more anglers use these lures, they'll find different ways of fishing them and using them. You can use your own hooks if you like a particular hook. You got a 3 gram weight on this one. I'm sure they probably sell 5 gram, 10 gram less, or you can wrap, as I do, lead wire around your hook and tailor it on the day. But you've got a system there that's going to work for you, and you can feel confident to go out and use. So Henry, Mads, Savage Gear, I'm very impressed. I do like your stuff. I use it pike fishing. My biggest pike came to a Savage Gear lure. Some people knock them. I think some people are a bit elitist myself. I love their pike gear. I really like their bass gear. Your sand eels and your seekers, you're really nailing it with them for the bass. They're just go-tos now in this country. I think possibly improve your hard lures a little bit more. But they catch bass, but they're not my go-to. But, a Savage Gear soft sand eel, that's probably, if I had to tell someone to go a lure to catch them a bass, that would be it. Will these replace that? You could put these on a jig head if you want to. There's another option. You don't have to use swim bait hooks. You could put them on jig heads if you really want. You want to cast a long way. I would imagine these lures, if you've got them in these colours, they will catch a pollock, that kind of thing. They're sure to get hit by wrasse. Every soft plastic does, pretty much, doesn't it? You get rhubarb and custard colours, maybe go down that kind of route with it. But focusing and talking about bass here now, I think that's a great little system, and I think that system there is going to catch me and others a lot of bass. You know they'd have put the testing in. They're a big company, Savage Gear. They're not going to put something on the market that just doesn't work. So you can feel confident that they will catch bass for you. So if you're not catching bass on these, you're probably not in the right place, or you're not fishing it right. But, you know, for somebody new to using soft plastics, I would suggest go and get this, because you've got it all there, and you just chuck on one of these on one of their hooks, throw it out, wind it straight back in, and it'll catch a bass. So yeah, very impressed as always with Savage Gear lures. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell if you're really keen. And yeah, happy bassing. Cheers.